And we are back. Thank you very much for staying with us. The global manufacturing landscape is experiencing a momentous shift, rendering value creation more important than ever before. That's according to the manufacturing cycle. This subsequently places manufacturing facilities under immense pressure to reconsider their business models and strategies with regards to internal proficiencies, external changes, and evolving points of influence. With the South African manufacturing sector under pressure, it could be very hard to predict if it will recover following the dismal showing in the first quarter. The annual KwaZulu-Natal Manufacturing Indaba will be hosted at the Durban ICC, which is the International Convention Center, on the 14th and 15th of August. And to tell us more is Phillipa Rosdeth, who is Managing Director of Manufacturing Circle. Thank you very much for coming to our program.
Welcome.
Just paint for us the state of the manufacturing sector in the country.
At the moment, the manufacturing sector is experiencing challenges, just like most of the sectors in this economy. On the supply side, we have certain challenges relating to energy supply, the regularity of the supply and the pricing thereof. Sometimes municipal infrastructure and service delivery is impacting on our manufacturing operations. And then on the demand side, there's not very strong local growth and not strong global growth. So that means there's less demand for manufactured product. So we find that some of our factories are operating under full production capacity. So basically there are challenges both on the demand side and the supply side for the manufacturing sector, but this doesn't mean that it remains an incredibly important element of our economy. Manufacturing is the engine of growth for our economy, and although it is experiencing challenges at the moment, there are definitely ways that we can address these so that we can continue to create jobs, create employment, and also remain competitive and an important player in the global economy.
What's forcing the local products not to be on the movement, unlike when you, on the face of things, say for example you fly to Durban or Cape Town or even in the Eastern Cape in Port Elizabeth, you see so many vessels coming into the country to offload stuff, but when it comes to loading and having export materials going out, there seems to be an imbalance.
Well, manufacturing is quite a complex ecosystem in that as a country we are part of a global context. So in some instances we import either finished products or inputs, and in other instances we export product. In general, the South African economy, we export quite a lot of raw materials. Sometimes they're beneficiated or values added to them overseas, and then we import the finished product. And that's definitely something that we want to get away from. We want to look at what it is that we can do to beneficiate our local products so that we actually add value in country. And really it would depend on different products and different sectors. We're not a large enough economy that we can just manufacture everything locally, but we do have to be mindful of what it is that we are importing, what could be rather manufacturing locally, and what is it that we are exporting, and rather beneficiated products and items that where we've added value in country.
So then when the Indaba takes place, what are issues that the industry is trying to grapple with, especially when you have various stakeholders coming in to make their input?
Yes, absolutely. The Indaba is a very important platform because it has industry representation and then also representation from policymakers. Because in order to make manufacturing work well in this country, industry can't do it alone and neither can government. We need to be talking, we need to be understanding what it is we need to do to improve the sector. So there are a couple of key topics that are going to be discussed. The one is, in our particular context in South Africa, how is it that we can look to transformation and diversification within the sector? The other topic has to do with the fourth industrial revolution, or Industry 4.0, the impact of technology on manufacturing, and essentially what it is and how can we use technology so that we can remain competitive as a sector. And then the third other key topic is finance for the manufacturing sector. What are the different finance options? Because obviously it's something that's required in order to invest in the sector and grow the sector.
So have the stimulus from government really helped the manufacturing sector to try and up their game, as well as the message from the president in the State of the Nation address when he was saying that South Africans should consume locally produced goods? Do these messages speak to the activity and the numbers?
Well, certainly a focus on supporting local production is definitely an important component, and also government support for different clusters within the manufacturing sector and different incentives. For example, the automotive sector has had quite a long-standing history of engagement between industry and government, incentives that are provided, and then what that does to the to grow that particular sector in the economy. However, if we look at the overall statistics, manufacturing as a contribution to GDP has been on a decline. So if we look at the overall statistics, there's certainly much more that can be done, but it's not really, we would argue, a case of pointing a finger at one one group or the other, but just to say, what is it that we can do to focus and prioritize the importance of manufacturing? And for that reason, the fact that the president wore locally manufactured clothing was a good indication of the fact that it's a matter of national importance, and the entire country needs to stand behind the manufacturing sector and do what we can individually and as groups to grow the sector.
No, well, all the best with the Indaba. There's so many issues to talk about. Perhaps we will look at some of the report back issues that you will raise at the Indaba, and we'll come and recap on this, because this sector, particularly manufacturing sector, has not been doing well ever since the GDP figures were released in the first quarter. Not quite impressive at all.
Absolutely, particularly the first quarter GDP, where we saw GDP as a whole shrinking, and the manufacturing sector a large component of that. Those were the 2 months where there was quite a lot of load shedding, so direct impact on that. So yes, we need to be very mindful of what's happening on a quarterly basis or a monthly basis. In some instances, we can see positive growth in the manufacturing if we look on a month-on-month basis, but the key point is that performance remains way too volatile. We need to see consistent good performance and growth in the manufacturing sector, and to achieve that we need to have a competitive manufacturing sector. We need to support the reputation of locally manufactured product, and we need to attain a supportive international trade position, especially when it comes to unfairly incentivized imports.
All right, let's leave it there. Thank you very much for speaking to us. Well, Phillipa Rosdeth is Executive Director of the Manufacturing Circle, and on to other news.